Today we're going to look at adding fractions with symbols. We've been looking at the models, and now that we have an understanding of how to find a common denominator with the models, we can move on to finding the common denominator using the math we're comfortable with. And so for our first question, let's look at something like 4/9 plus 5/6. One way to add these fractions is to multiply the denominators by each other to get a common denominator. So in this case, I'm going to multiply this side by 9. I'm going to multiply this side by 6. Because 6 times 9 and 9 times 6 are the same equation, we know we're going to end up with the same denominator of 54. Our new numerators are 45 and 24. And now we can go ahead and add. Remember, when we add, the denominator stays the same, and it's the numerator that we're adding. 5 plus 4 is 9. 2 plus 4 is 6. So we get 69 over 54. Now, 6 plus 9 is 15. 5 plus 4 is 9. So we can divide both of these by 3. And so 69 divided by 3 is 23. 54 divided by 3 is 18. Remember, we always have to simplify. How many times does 18 go into 23? Well, it goes in once, and there is 5 left over. And so our final answer is 23/18, or 1 5/18. One fourth plus 1/3. Again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this side by 4 and this side by 3 so that I get equivalent fractions that are 3 over 12 plus 4 over 12. And when I add them together, I get 7 over 12. That does not need to be simplified. It's already in lowest terms. And so that would be my final answer. Okay. So again, multiply the denominator by each other to get our equivalent fractions. Right? 1/4 is the same as 3/12. For this problem, 1/4 plus 5/6, I'm going to show you another way of doing it. Because if I were to multiply them by 4 and by 6, I would get 6 over 24 plus 20 over 24, which works, but I'm going to have to do a lot of simplifying. Another way that we can look at a problem like this is to find the lowest common multiple. I know that 4 and 6 share a common multiple of 12. And if you don't know that, you can look for the lowest common multiple by looking at the multiples of 4 and the multiples of 6. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. 6, 12, 18, 24. If you notice, 24 and 12 show up in both lists, which is why we ended up with 24 here, but we can actually use 12 instead, and it's the lowest common multiple. So this time I'm going to multiply this by 3. I'm going to multiply this by 2. And by doing this, I get, again, 3 over 12. And here I get 10 over 12. These are all equivalent. But this is my lowest common multiple, and so it's going to help me later on as I'm not going to have to simplify. 3 plus 10 is 13 over 12. And so my answer is 13/12, or 1 1/12, because 12 goes into 13 one time with 1 left over. All of the examples so far have been questions where you have to find both equivalent fractions. Let's look at something like this. 1/2 plus 1/8. I know that if I count by twos, 2, 4, 6, 8, 8 is a multiple of 2. So I can leave this fraction exactly where it is, and I only need to change this side. Remember to multiply the top and the bottom, so I get 4/8 plus 1/8. Notice I didn't have to change this one at all. I just found a common denominator of 8. And so we get 5/8 as our final answer. Remember, when you are adding fractions, the denominators have to be the same. Then you can just add the numerators. And always simplify your answer.